Thanks a lot, Graziella. And thanks for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here sharing this session with you and all the others, and obviously with everyone who is here following us. As I guess you saw by my introduction, I'm on the government side of things. I work in an institute that's really focused on GIS data information, but we do have a historic relationship with research and mainly doing applied science. And that's why we do coordinate projects such as the partnership with NASA, and that's why we coordinate this project that I'm going to present today. So it's really focused in operational landslide nowcast model, early warning system for a city government in a city like Rio de Janeiro, and which has the challenges that you can very clearly see in the picture in your screen. So this is the Vidigal favela in Rio de Janeiro, and it's a landslide from 2019. It's relatively recent. So let's go. This work is part of a broader partnership that we have with NASA, and I won't go through it all. I guess this part is more focused on the second bullet point, which is a pioneering application of NASA Earth observation data and models at the urban scale. So this is really based into trying to into making viable for use in the local scale the products that NASA does so well in the global scale and also in the national scale for the US. So what we are trying to do here is to make those products actionable and operational into the local scale, into the CD scales. So the focus here is our landslide model, of course. So starting the partnerships, I will show a timeline later. So what we did was basically to integrate into our own operational platform the landslide hazard assessment model for situational awareness, which is the acronym LHASA, which was developed at NASA Quadrant Space Flight Center by Daria Kirschbaum and her team. And we did this to implement this as an operational model into the Alerta Rio and Operational Center framework that I will explain briefly here, with the goal, obviously, to alert, give early warning to vulnerable communities, to exposed communities in the city. So how does the global model works? It's using precipitation data from a constellation of satellites. You can see from satellites from several different countries in the right, which is the NASA GPM, the NASA Global Precipitation Measurement Mission. And this is really interesting. This allows us to have a global view of precipitation without depending on the sparse distribution of rain gauges across the globe. So this is really powerful. And what do we have here in the city of Rio de Janeiro? We have our operation center, which started in 2010, after a very intense rainfall in the same year. It operates 24/7, all days of the year. It deals with city routine, of course. Traffic is, I guess, the most common matter it's dealing with, but it's mainly a crisis management hub. So you have the situation room, which looks a lot like a NASA control room for space missions. And our meteorological office stays within the operation center. It's what we call Alerta Rio, Rio Alert. And it's monitor all like several weather forecast products and giving alerts for the population and for the government. At the operation center, we launched it in 2018, the model that I will explain to you now. So the global model, as I was saying, it operates with global, of course, data, which has its qualities, but also its problems in terms of using at a local scale. So and into our operational use. So one of the things, this is the basic like decision tree of LHASA. And one of the things about it's that it's using precipitation data from the satellites, and it has a spatial resolution which is not so detailed for us, and mainly it has a 3-hour latency. So I know, like now, I know what is the rainfall 3 hours behind. So in a city like Rio, in 3 hours, the rainfall already started, the landslide already happened, and people are already making response efforts. So we cannot rely on that for operational use. That's why the model is called for situational awareness, and it's a research model. So what we are doing is try to make it operational. Also, the landslide susceptibility map that it uses, for obvious reasons being a global map, it has a coarse resolution of 1 kilometer of size. So for our local scale, this is also not ideal. So what we did basically was to change the data inputs for our own local data. And for our also local parameters in terms of what are the rainfall triggers that we use to define from which rainfall concentration we start having landslides in Rio de Janeiro. And the city does a lot of research on that since the last century. So we are using our rain gauges, and there are some techniques to make the rain gauge information, which is a point-based information, behave as the satellite data would behave as a continuous surface information. And this information updates every 5 minutes with a latency of at the most 1 minute. So I have at any given point, the most late information of rainfall I have is like 6 minutes ago. So it's really fast to update. And also we have a local landslide susceptibility map that has 5 meters of spatial resolution. So we are leaving from 1 kilometer and going to 5 meters. But basically we are maintaining, at the first moment, we were maintaining the decision tree, changing the data inputs, changing the parameters, and making this, which is a Python script, run into our own infrastructure of information here, which is CURB, the Municipal Urban Information System. So this is basically just to try to give a good visualization of how this is happening. Rainfall, rain gauges, measuring rainfall, the landslide susceptibility map. You can see high susceptibility, for example, in red. And this information is being integrated into CURB, Municipal Urban Information System. It goes to the operation center, which is the logo in the middle, and the operation center is issuing alerts internally and externally for the population. So a few screenshots, so you can see the first version of the web map that is from LHASA, or LHASA Rio, as we call here, the operational and the local version. This was during an intense rainfall, and this address that I quickly searched here and saw that it had hazard was a place where a landslide happened. Sorry?
El papá de ella fue diputado.
Go ahead.
El papá de esa señora fue diputado.
So we have other information of support into this map, which is the risk areas, support points, and sirens from our alarm and alerts system from the civil defense here, civil protection. They have protocol for evacuation, things like that. So all this information is also mapped and available into the same web application. You can see the nowcasts that have already been issued before, a history of that, and so on. After the model was released in 2018, and during the summer 2018 to 2019, the summer in the southern hemisphere, of course, we had two very intense rainfall events, and we used those events to do I would say simple validation of the model, not a full scale science validation of the model, but we got data from several sources, city reports, satellite imagery, and we were able to map 2019 landslides of those two events. And 192 or almost 88% of those landslides happened in areas where the model was issuing nowcast. So this gave us the confidence to move forward and use the model as part of the operational protocols that the city does into the operational center. One thing that was asked is that the model initially was giving only two levels of hazard, high or moderate. And this was basically depending on the landslide susceptibility map. There was no variation according to the rainfall triggers. They were like yes or no, as the original model was. And what we did was the demand was the operational people wanted to be able to prioritize in a critical situation where the hazard was worse, where the resources should be applied. So we added one more extreme level of rainfall trigger, and then the model now has
3 minutes.
The model now has 4 different levels of hazard. I will skip, I guess, the timeline or go quickly because I want to talk more later. So the partnership starts 2015 in the end. So we launched the model in 2018. We have a workshop in Rio in 19. And we have been using this as part of the operational protocols of the city since 2020. Okay, basically since mid 2019, but officially as part of our, we call here summer plan, which is our wet season. Okay, we have been using it since 2020. And now we have some new deliveries and ongoing efforts that I want to comment with you. So as part of a larger LHASA 2.0 project that NASA is doing, so they changed basically also the global model. The global model doesn't work as I showed before. It's more complex now. And we are also using some of those goals of the project to develop exposure assessment and also a forecast component for the model. Okay. So here basically showing, now we have this dashboard where you can see the areas with hazard. So those polygons where you have hazard in the different levels, but also the streets, by each street segment of the city where hazard is being identified. And you can filter those street segments by what we call here the hierarchy of the streets. So it's a structural street or a local street. You can filter those out. So you can prioritize based on the hazard level and the importance of the streets in the city network of streets where you have to act, for example. We have a mobile version for that dashboard. You can see 3 different screens of the same dashboard. It's the same function, but it's important for teams in the field to use. And all of that is available online. We now have 2 ongoing efforts, which is to add a forecast. This is not what is in the screen. Let me go back. Which is adding a forecast component to the model. So using weather numeric output for weather forecast nowcast. So we can not only use the information of the rainfall that's happening as a nowcast model, we can also use a weather forecast to give more earlier warnings. Okay, and also this effort of using the LHASA Rio, the model outputs, showing where the hazard is, as the function of we are calling a mobile siren. So the city operational center, Rio operational center, they have a mobile smartphone, a smartphone app that has the ability to send warnings to people based on the GPS location and any hazard that's being mapped in the city at any given moment. So we are trying to automate the outputs of the LHASA model as an input for this warning. So any people, any person in any place of the city, if there's hazard on where this person is, this person can receive a siren warning in their pockets. And this would be in adding to the stationary, the physical sirens that the city already has. But we have like more than 100 communities with those systems. It's where the most of the risk is concentrated. However, there is landslide risk in almost obviously in the slopes of the city, not only in the favelas, in the slums where the physical system is located. So the idea is that with this mobile sign function, we will be able to give quicker and easier to use information for the population based on the model that I was trying to explain later. So trying to give a more, not such a science view, a city government view of how we are using the science to better inform population and better inform the use of our resources during a crisis in a very prone to landslides city like Rio de Janeiro. So thanks for your time. Okay, I'm ending now, so I'm I guess I was really quick in the timeline, so that's okay.
Perfect.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much, Felipe.